This is the way I've always thought about making songs, and this is the way that I get stuff done. And that is to think in terms of making an album, not one song, but 10 songs. You're thinking about making 10 songs of one kind of music. And especially if you are a person who is thinking about trying to either make an album, let's say you're an artist. Being an artist, it makes sense to think about a larger project and then make pieces of that project. If you're sending stuff out to libraries, they want to see 5, 10 songs that you can do in one genre so that they know they can take that. Sync libraries will take all day a finished 10-song album. You walk in with a finished 10-song album and they're like, yes, please. They don't have to pay for it. All they have to do is put it into their system and give you the writer's share for the album. So that's one reason to think about it. But the second reason is it allows for multiple ideas. Let's say you do want to do a hip-hop album, but you also want to do an orchestral album. You could do an orchestral hip-hop album. Let's say you want to do an orchestral thing that was completely orchestral, and you also want to do a hip-hop album. You can start to split your time between the two albums and start to put different songs in different albums. Now, I know what you might be thinking, dude, I can't even make one song. How am I going to make an album? This gives you a little bit more leeway. It takes the pressure off of having to sit down and come up with a song. I talked with one artist and he says, I have real trouble creating music fast because I work on a song and I work on it and I work on it and I work on it. And he does the full band and records it and then goes all the way and then does his vocals and then mixes it. And that process could take him a month, he said, or 2 months. And some of you may identify with this. But what if you thought of things in terms of making albums? This has been my life for the past 30 years. It's helping people make products that they could sell. In the old days, that would have been a cassette or a CD. Now we're a little bit more in a singles culture. So it's a bit of a trap because everyone thinks, all I got to do is come up with one song and put it on Spotify. Then they put it on Spotify and all the other streaming places and they realize that no one seems to really care. And they've wasted all this time working on one song and now nothing is really happening. But if you are in the album mode and you're thinking of a whole hip hop album, you can come sit down and you also are thinking about an orchestral album and maybe some other album. And you're thinking, I'm going to sit down. What do I feel like working on? Do I feel like working on hip hop? Then, okay, I'm going to make a hip hop song for this album. And maybe you could even think about what the album kind of is focused on. Maybe it's a hip hop album focused on dance or party, or it's a orchestral album focused on, maybe you want to redo a bunch of classical things, or you want to do a bunch of public domain songs, but classical. You want to do something, whatever it is, you can sit down and say, okay, this album focuses just on this. I feel like working on this today. And you can start the bones of something that's going to become something more later. And I just think that this is how I work. It's how a lot of pros work. We don't just sit down and willy-nilly work on a song and then get halfway through it and go, I don't like this. I'm going to move on. Then our whole day or hours that we had, those precious hours to create on that day, were wasted on some idea we may not even follow up. So having albums that you're working on, this is why at Positive Spin Partners, we have 20 albums going on. And every week we sit down at 11 o'clock on Zoom and we talk about what albums we have and where I need help on those albums. It gives people a way to concentrate on a thing to do rather than just sit down and kind of just, I have no idea really what I'm doing. This requires a little of imagination. You're going to have to just kind of imagine, what kind of album would I like to do? What music do I love? And what would the album be about? Put on your little thinking caps, put on your little imagination hats, just like we used to do in kindergarten, and just dream for a minute. Put your phone down, go outside, look at the trees, listen to the birds, and think about what you want to do. No computer needed. And dream up an album idea. Dream up a concept for an album. And if you're into sync, think about what sync likes. They like beats and strings for sports and stuff like that. I'm going to do something towards that. They like tension scenes and music for tension scenes. I'm going to do 10-song album of tension. Or if you're an artist and you think, I want to make an album of this kind of stuff for this particular genre that will fit in a bunch of playlists. And I'm just going to hit one song at a time. But here's why albums beat one song at a time. Because if you are someone who is going to track a band or make a track and then go and do vocals, you can build all this up and do all of your tracks together, and then do all of your vocals together, and then do all of your mixing together. And suddenly you're working on more songs. You're getting more done. You're getting songs done faster because you're not sitting there for 2 months working on one thing. Maybe you get to a stopping point on a song. You say, I just don't know what to do for a bridge here. So you go to the next song, and you don't waste time racking your brains and trying to figure out what to do just for that one song. And so I think the key to my success, we have 20 plus albums going on right now. And sometimes, like this week, I had to stop and work on a percussion album because it was due. They were getting ready to put it out, and they were paying, so we wanted to get it finished. So I had to kind of like focus on that. All the other times, if I don't have a deadline, I'm going to be looking at all the projects and going, okay, I feel like doing some mariachi right now, or I feel like doing a little bit of beats and strings right now, or I feel like whatever it is that I have, a little classical, a little jazz, a little whatever. I can just jump on that, and it makes the decision making when I sit down in that and take that precious time that I have and get something done. And I think it's because of albums.